Hi, my name's Shardae Carr. I'm the wife to Emil Carr and I'm a mother of two gorgeous girls. Professionally, I'm a senior risk analyst, but I've trained as an actuarial analyst in the insurance industry.
Being the wife of such a very popular fashion designer, there's so much attention that's given to him in the creative. So I'm really quite keen to know more about your personality before we build up to find out about how do you find being sort of in, having a husband who's in the spotlight all the time. Tell me a song that you think matches your personality and then tell me why that song.
It's a hard one, but I would say Shardae the singer, her song Smooth Operator, and I would never have said that beforehand, but I remember once I went for an interview and my interviewer gave feedback to my recruiter and said, she's definitely a Shardae, she's a smooth operator. And I thought, oh, what does that mean? Because I was really nervous in that interview and he basically said, I didn't see any nerves, you just answer the questions as you felt you needed to and you were really smooth with it. So I think that's probably it. Even though I've probably got my legs like kicking under the water and I'm panicking, I can come across as quite smooth. So yeah, smooth operator.
Miss Smooth. So prior to Smooth Operator, what other song would you describe Shardae when you're much younger, before becoming the Smooth Operator?
Okay, I don't know a song, but I definitely say I was quiet and reserved. Always even quite shy. So I wasn't really a people person. I didn't really like meeting people, didn't really like talking to people. I liked my own company. And yeah, I was just very reserved, very shy. I liked my own company, my own environment. I had friends, but not too many. Yeah, so that's who I was before I became a smooth operator and probably a bit more confident in who I was.
I like to mention the whole thing about confidence because I think now being an adult, would you say that you're more confident now?
Yeah, definitely. I remember as I was approaching my 30s being really nervous about it. And now I look back, I just think my 30s have been the best time of my life. Like, I feel like I'm so much more confident in who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I'm able to speak up when I feel that I'm not being represented or I'm not being heard. So yeah, I definitely say that I'm a lot more confident now than I was before.
And in terms of your friends, how would your friends describe you now?
Well, I have an incredible circle of friends, some amazing girlfriends, and I think they'd say that I was the organiser of the group. If they need anything in terms of some sort of organisation, whether it's jumping on a plane with a toddler or planning a wedding or buying a house, they call me, they're like, Shardae, do you have a list for this? What process do I need to go through? And I've got a list. I'm very detail orientated, I'm process driven. So everything in my life, even aside from my career, has a list, has an organisation, like has a place. So that's the kind of person I am. So I'm definitely the organiser.
Do you have a large circle of friends or small?
I'd say it's relatively small. I'd say I have like 5 to 6 really close girlfriends and then other friends just beyond that. So yeah, maybe quite a small, close knit circle of friends, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure what's small and what's large.
Well, I think, what you said was so important too about how you were when you were much younger, being much shy and not as confident and not as very much an introvert, not really liking to socialize a lot. But not liking to socialize a lot, is that because of you feel like you lack confidence then?
Actually, yeah, definitely. So when I was younger, I didn't want to socialise because I felt like I didn't really have anything to say. I think now it's different. Like, I still don't like socialising so much because I think ultimately I am an introvert. But I know how to be extroverted. So in social situations, I know how to connect with people. I know how to talk to people. And so I think as I got older, I learned I kind of have an innate ability to connect with people. And because of that, I've kind of fed into that. So in social environments, I'm a bit more confident that, I can connect with anyone, whatever background they're from, hopefully. And make people feel comfortable in my presence. So
it's so interesting, isn't it? Because you said that you didn't like people that much.
No.
But when you accepted, guess what? Actually, I just genuinely connect with people. People just want to genuinely connect with me.
Yeah.
You know, that's quite the oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how do you juggle that now? You know, being that you have all these, first of all, you're the organizer. Yes, you have your close-knit circle of friends, but you have a lot of acquaintances also. How do you juggle being in that sort of position where you want some time for yourself and knowing that, guess what, you are actually a people person?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. To be fair, every day I almost think my brain's going to explode because I have so many things to do and so many things to think about, as well as exercise and drink water, make sure the girls are okay, make sure the meal's okay, make sure my house is decent. So I'm still trying to figure that out, if I'm honest. I don't think that I've got it down to an art. I think that my friends and I do make conscious effort to kind of have a FaceTime call maybe every couple of weeks. We connect most days on WhatsApp group, which is always really useful. I try and be really present with the children when they get home from school, when they get home from nursery. And then once they go to bed, we're quite strategic about them going to bed early so I can connect with a meal. And some evenings we're just like, he needs to get on with work, I need to get on with work, that's okay, but tomorrow we'll sit down, we'll chill, we'll watch a movie, we'll have a date night. So I think that in terms of balancing, I think you have to be a bit intentional about it. But even then, being intentional is still a hard thing to do. It's still hard to balance and be the person that you feel that you can be or need to be for others as well as yourself.
Absolutely. I think that let's go with that self-fit and balance. That being mental health. And you mentioned something that was very important at the very beginning, important to you, and that you're an avid Pilates practitioner, right? I think that's incredible. I love Pilates too.
Yeah.
So how, knowing all of these elements, you're a wife, you're a mother, you are a sister, also you're a very devoted friend, you're senior risk analysis also. I mean, there's so much.
Yeah.
How do you find time for yourself? How do you make it happen? Because I mean, your schedule sounds so packed.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so in terms of finding some time for myself, I tend to book gym classes because in that way it means I have to go. I'll give you an example. Yes, I think it was yesterday or the day before I was supposed to be going to boxercise, and half an hour before I said to my husband, I don't want to go, I'm not going, I'm too tired. And he was just like, you want to go? To go. I was like, oh, okay. So I got up and I drove to the gym and I went, and I'm so glad I did. I nearly died in the class because it was like ridiculous. I don't know why people do boxercise, but they do. Apparently it's good for your health. I don't know. But I had a great time, kind of, sort of. I'm still aching, but that's kind of how I make time. I force myself, or I get my husband to force me because he knows that's what I need to do or that's what I want to do. And then, like you said, you mentioned mental health. I know that exercise helps with my mental health. It reduces my anxiety. It makes me feel better about myself. It helps me to sleep better. And if I'm sleeping better, I'm thinking better, I'm being better for myself and others around me.
I think that's beautiful. And well done to you for keeping it all together. Really. And so you find exercise is quite crucial in helping with mental health, but also just finding time for yourself.
Absolutely. I'm not going to say, I'm not like an exercise freak. I'm not one of those people that thrive on exercise. I absolutely don't. I know that I need to do it. And for that reason, that's why I do it. I think that, given an example like that boxercise class, people were just like going and they kept going and they kept going. And I was just like, my heart's going to fall out of my chest. Like, I cannot keep going. I don't feel good, but I know that ultimately it's a good thing. So that's what keeps me exercising. In terms of Pilates, I just love it because it's great for your body, your core. It just brings everything back together. It makes you balanced. I always say that Pilates is for everyone, but especially for tall people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 5'9", and I'm always encouraging people who are really tall to do Pilates, because it's very, like, it just changes your body and it just helps you be stronger. Like, you don't have to be super flexible or any of that. You just start small, and there's levels for every exercise, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. So even after having the children, going back to Pilates, I knew I couldn't just go back to intermediate level. I knew I needed to start again at beginner level and just work my way up. So that's always, that's great.
Wow. Now, you mentioned something about, I don't know if it's necessarily your personality, or a flaw, I'll say it, your flaw in your personality, and that being, procrastinating about going to Pilates.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a flaw in your personality?
What I've realised recently is that I definitely can procrastinate, and the procrastination comes from the wanting to do something perfect. So if I know that I don't, I would say I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? So I've always been a perfectionist, but realising that I don't have the time to be perfect, I don't have the time to perfect some of the things that I do. I just need to do my best, and my best is good enough. I find that sometimes if I have quite a big task, or a task that I know I want to do well, I can procrastinate on that because I want to have the time to do it perfectly. So that is definitely a character flaw, because not everything has to be done perfectly. You just have to do your best, and whatever your best is, it just has to be accepted.
Now, how do you take that character flaw or procrastination? Because I heard it, but I want you to explain it. Because first of all, I love the way you speak. You're very eloquent. You're very much a smooth operator, indeed. Very much so. So how do you take a character flaw and turn it into a positive? How do you take that specific one? Because I think I heard it.
Yeah.
But I would like to know how you, just to kind of, because I think there are lots of people, including myself, who deal with that, but how you flip it.
Right. So I'd say when I'm procrastinating, I take that time to plan what I'm going to do. So whether that's planning the activity that I want or planning other things, I take that procrastination time as planning time. So by the time I actually get to doing what I need to do, I've got a plan for it, or I've got a plan to do other things in between before I get to do what I'm planning to do. So I think, although sometimes procrastination looks like just sitting down and watching YouTube, or just sitting down and watching a movie, because we need to take time just to switch off and just not have to think about stuff sometimes. So I think procrastination can look like that as well, and then you can turn it into relaxation time, right?
Absolutely. And I like that. That brings me to the whole thing of switching off.
Yeah.
How do you switch off?
Yeah. So I think sometimes...
let me ask you, let me rephrase that. What would a typical switch off day looks like for you, Shardae?
Oh, wow. So I'd wake up late. So late in our house is probably 7 a.m. because our girls are up at 5:30. So I wake up late. I'd probably have a shower, probably put my pajamas back on, make a nice breakfast, probably sit down and watch something on Netflix. Probably sit on the sofa. This is me dreaming, because I haven't had this in I don't know however long. How old is our eldest? Almost 6. So in 6 years I haven't done any of this. And then I'd probably go for a facial. I'd probably go for a massage, then come home, relax a bit more. I think that by the time I've finished relaxing, everyone's going to come home. So I'd probably order a takeaway because I'm not cooking on my relaxation day. Enjoy time with the girls and my husband, put them to bed nice and early, and then enjoy the rest of the day relaxing with my husband. So,
love that.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, you're very much a family person.
I am.
So before I get more into the family stuff, I want to go back to the mental health thing. Would you say that switching off is part of mental health? Absolutely.
I think that in the world we live in now, we're constantly being fed information. We're also thinking about stuff. I think that and that can cause so much anxiety. I know that for me, anxiety has definitely been a thing. and it's not clinical anxiety, thank God. It's just I can get very overwhelmed with all that I need to do and the way in which I want to do it. And so being able to switch off and not think about anything, I think, is vital to building yourself back up, to filling yourself back up, to conserving some energy, because we use so much energy thinking and worrying, and we also make ourselves older by worrying, and I think that when you switch off, you're able to become a bit more calm, you're able to just reflect a bit more, and I think have a better perspective on things. I think when when you have that perspective, when you're so close to something, it's hard to see the bigger picture. Whereas when you can step back and relax, you can see a bigger picture, and it all makes a bit more sense than when you're close up and in the detail. So being able to switch off, I think, looks like that for me, like stepping back and being able to see the bigger picture. To have a better perspective on life and on things.
I love that. Let's touch on this anxiety thing.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned the whole thing about that the anxiety that you're referring to is not the clinical one. And am I correct in thinking that it's not a worry about failure, but it's more about there's so many things that you have planned and just being on top of it, and just the whole fact of trying to stay on top of it and finding time for yourself and being aware of that, that you need to dedicate time for your mental health. Does that build up into that whole anxiety that you're referring to?
Yeah, I definitely say it's probably both. I'd say majority of the time is trying to stay on top of things, and I'd say maybe about 10% of the time it's the failure idea. It's the fact that I'm worried about if I'm doing enough for the girls. Am I there enough? There's that mum guilt. Do I work too much? Do I spend enough time with them? Are they going to regret this, or are they going to be upset with me for doing this for them? And then am I doing enough for my husband? Am I present enough for him? Even, am I present enough for my parents? Am I present enough for my siblings? Am I a good enough friend? So there definitely is that fear of failure. But like I said, that's probably maybe 10% of the time when I think things just get really over the top, and at that point I just need a holiday, I need a break, I need a night away kind of thing, just so I can breathe again and breathe deeply and just reflect again. But a majority of the time it is trying to balance things. Like I'm one of those people that are always on my phone, but it's not social media. I'm on my to-do list. I'm on my calendar, making sure I remember all the dates for my daughter's school, and making sure that she's got this costume, or that she's sorted for this book, or just so many things going on all the time, making sure that her gymnastics class, when it's changed, that I've got that in the diary, that I've invited my husband, he knows too, and then I've got it in my work diary too. So if I'm at work, I know what's going on the next day. If they're swimming, making sure the swimming bag is set up. If they're, for my youngest daughter, for nursery, making sure she's got a change of clothes, and making sure that everything's just updated. It can be extremely overwhelming. So I'm always on my phone trying to make sure that everything's organised in that way. And yeah, so that can definitely cause anxiety too.
I definitely hear it. It's a full life.
It is.
Because you also you work full time.
Yeah. And
you have a job that requires you being fully committed, plus being a mom, plus being, the go-to person for everybody else. It's just so full on, my goodness. Which leads me also to the fact of, let's bring it straight to being the wife of this very successful fashion designer. First of all, how do you feel? Knowing your husband is a successful fashion designer, how do you feel? I'm
extremely proud of Emil. I always say that he's one of the hardest working people I know. When I met him, I'd probably leave him and tell that story, but life didn't look how it looked now. But I could see that he was extremely hardworking. We actually met in a club, but it was at a friend's birthday, so we were both there for our friend's birthday. And he said, "Oh, I'm going back to work," and I thought, "What? It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. How are you going back to work?" And that definitely struck me. He's so hardworking. He's always thinking. He's an absolute entrepreneur. I know that everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but I see that entrepreneurial life isn't glamorous at times. And I see how hard he's working. He's always switched on when it comes to work, and then knows when to switch off as well. So he's become really great at learning to switch off and engage with us as a family, which I'm really proud of him about. But yeah, he's absolutely incredible. He is so talented, and I am so grateful to be his wife.
You touched on something, and you've said it, but I want it specifically. I'm going to ask you, what do you think is key in having a healthy, beautiful, joyful, joy-filled relationship with a creative? Being the partner of a creative.
Yeah. I think the number one thing is giving him space to be creative. I think my husband's the happiest when he's creating, right? And so I think it's so important for him to have that time to create, whether it's work-wise or just personal, like being creative in his personal space and his personal life. And then also giving him time to rest. Like I remember one year we were doing a marriage course, and we do this like every 2 to 3 years just to kind of refresh and make sure that we're still staying engaged with each other and making sure that our commitment stays fresh. And he had said he's really thankful that I leave him to play PlayStation. And I just thought that's so weird, like, but I realised that that's his downtime. And when and he doesn't play PlayStation all the time, but when he's playing PlayStation, just leave him to it. Let him enjoy his space and his relax and his switching off time, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I think the key is giving him space to be creative, and then also space just for downtime, and also being a good ear to listen. I think I'm one of those people, I'm an analyst, I think by personality as well. So it's really easy to analyse his ideas and tweak them, whereas sometimes he doesn't want that. He just wants me to listen. And so I've had to learn to be a better listener, just hear him out and hear what he has to say, hear his ideas. Don't give your personal opinion if you're not asked. So.
And how important is time management in keeping your relationship healthy and joy-filled?
Yeah, it is absolutely key. I think at times people have criticised us for putting our kids to bed at 7 and 7:30, but I'm just like, we need our time together. If they're not in bed early, then it just goes into the evening, and then we don't have an evening, you know. So our evenings are really precious to us. And I think that we're great with communicating to each other if that evening's not going to happen. So if he needs to go back to work, or if I need to work, we just communicate that, and that's fine. We'll just make sure there's another time that we can definitely spend together.
I have to say, the criticisms that you said regarding your children going to bed early, it certainly doesn't affect on the children's role, because your children are beautiful and so happy.
Yeah,
I see the videos, and my God, the relationship that your girls have with their father, Emil, is really quite admirable.
Yeah.
How important is that for you? Because like you mentioned just now about that he always makes sure that he finds time for the family.
Yeah.
How important, but the family, but especially with the children, the girls, right? And girls also. How important is that for you? That's
incredibly important for me, because I grew up with a very present dad. My dad is like everything to us. And then my mum grew up with her dad being extremely present and everything to her, you know? So I know the importance of dad being in your life as a woman and being present as a girl, sorry. He is, so my dad is absolutely incredible. And I think that when looking for a partner, I was always like, oh, I want my partner to be like my dad, like in terms of his relationship with his girls, with his children. And even now, like, my dad's incredibly important in my life. Like, if I need anything, or if I just need advice, or if I need to get ideas, I call him, oh, Dad, what do you think? Like, he's always there. And I see Emil's like that with our girls, like, anything they want. And I always say he's a fun parent. I'm the parent that's always organising stuff, whereas he's that means he has time to be fun with them, to do fun things. And he's always, oh, my daddy said I can do this. I'm like, no, you can't. But yeah, and I think, yeah, the girls absolutely adore him. He's absolutely their superhero.
Well, another thing that I really love so special about your family is knowing the fact that you are your husband's muse. How does it feel to know that you are the muse of this incredible fashion designer who happens to be your husband? Yeah,
it feels good, I think. Emil's very vocal about me being his muse, and I feel privileged as well. I feel that if he can look at me and think that I'm inspiration, then that's a great thing. So
that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
And he obviously thinks that you are the blueprint. To be considered the blueprint.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it definitely sounds that not just in your relationship, but with your husband, but in your relationships with the people close to you, that they do regard you quite highly.
I hope so. I think so, yeah.
I think that's wonderful. I want to ask you something about your job, because while yes, we want to, we definitely want to get a little glimpse into your relationship with Emil, I also want this to be about you. Do you know what I mean? I want a lot of it to be about you, because at the end of the day, this is about how you become into being you now. You know what I mean? And still being an individual at the same time. You talk about your job, but you haven't talked much about your job. Yes. How is it going with your job? You love your job?
It's going okay, I think. I do enjoy my job. I just returned to work from maternity leave. I had a year's maternity leave and returned to work in May. And so I've been back for, I should be able to work this out, 3 months. Yeah, it's 3 months. And so I do enjoy it. I think that I am definitely quite a driven person. So I'm not comfortable where I am. I want more responsibility. I want to progress my career in many ways. And thankfully, the company that I'm at, my managers and my seniors have been vocal about that as well. So that's been great. I think when I went to university, I've heard loads of people say, no, I don't even use my degree. I don't use my degree. And for me, I just thought, well, I don't want that to be me. I want to be able to use my degree. So I went.
What was your degree in?
Maths and statistics. So I did a degree in maths and statistics, and as far as I was concerned, when I finished, I was going to be an actuary. And loads of people say, oh, what's that? What, an actor? I'm like, no. So an actuary is basically somebody that uses statistics to find the probability of things happening in a very simplistic way. And so that's what I wanted to do. I knew there were hundreds of exams, but I was just like, it's fine, I've done a maths degree, right? So when I graduated, I went to work for an insurance company, and it went okay. I think that I started my professional exams, and as far as I was concerned, I was going to pass all of them. It was going to be fine. I was going to qualify as an actuary and be great, and that didn't happen. So I started exams, and they didn't go too well, actually. I kept failing. I passed some, but I failed more. And that was definitely character building. And at the time, I'd said to Emil, whether or not I get to where I need to get to, we will have a baby at this point. And so we did, because for me, I knew that if I needed to choose, it would be a family over career. Ultimately, I didn't want to choose, but ultimately that's what it would have been. And after I had my first daughter, I thought, I'm going to do one more exam just to kind of prove to myself I can do it. I did it and I passed, and then I said, I'm not doing it anymore.
The fact that because sitting here and speaking to you, of course, so well presented, obviously very intelligent, and it's and you definitely at a point in your career where you can just, as people looking and would just be like, wow, she's had it all together. But you said something that was so important just now, and that, I mean, everything you said so far has been important, but something for me to pick up on, and that is when you started in your career in insurance. Well, before insurance, because insurance was the first job you had after you finished your degree, and you said when you started doing the exams for the professional exams for the insurance, then you were failing them. Now, how did that affect you? Because remember, you mentioned about the confidence issue when you're younger and now as an adult.
Okay.
Did the confidence issue come into play in you taking those exams, or did it come into an issue after you took the exams and realised that you failed?
Okay. I probably need to go back a little bit to kind of give you a bit of background, because whilst I was doing the exams, I think, and I was failing, I was disappointed, but I was just like, no, I'll just do it again. And that was because when I first started university, so at 18 years old, you need to make a whole decision on how the rest of your life is going to go, right? And that is always very daunting. And at the time I thought, well, I'm good at maths, so I might as well do a maths degree. And I applied for several universities in London, some of the best universities in London actually, and I got into all of them. And so I had a choice as to who I was going to go. And I decided to go to a certain university just because it was easiest to get to from my house. But don't ever make the decision on what university to go to based on how easy it is to get to from your house. I hadn't even gone to visit it, so I thought, oh, I'll go there because they needed me to get 3 A's at A-level. I got 3 A's at A-level, so that's where you go, right? That's what I thought. And it was literally the most miserable time of my life. Like, I had gone to this university to study maths with some of the best minds in the world, because there were loads of international students that did like 100 A-levels, and I was with my little 4 A-levels. And and I really struggled. I struggled to make friends. I struggled to keep up with the work. At that point, I realised maybe all of maths isn't great for me. I'm a statistician, which is about logically looking at statistics and figuring out how it relates to life. Whereas a lot of this maths was pure maths. And if you ever meet a pure mathematician, they're geniuses. That wasn't me. So I really struggled, and I finished my first year and I failed half of my exams. And that was the first time that I'd failed anything. I'd passed my driver's test first time. I'd got 3 A's at A-levels. I got all these A's at GCSE. And I remember calling my dad, and at the time they were on holiday in Florida. My parents were on holiday. And I called him thinking he's going to be so disappointed, crying on the phone. And he was just like, Shardae, it's your first life hurdle. How are you going to jump back from this? How are you going to pick yourself up? And I thought, right, okay. So I'll go back and I'll do the other half of my exams, the other half of the modules that I failed. And I went back, and then halfway through that year, I got sick with an autoimmune disease. So I got an overactive thyroid gland. And I hadn't realised it was undiagnosed. So there all sorts of things were going on in my body, and I hadn't figured what was going on. And then by the time I'd gone to the consultants at the hospital, they basically said, look, if you've got exams in a week, that's not gonna work. And so I just realised, okay, I'm gonna have to let this dream go of going to this top 5 university in the world and figuring something else out. And for that summer, I went back and forth. I didn't know what I was doing, and by the end of the summer, I decided, right, I am going to go to university and study maths, even though my tutor at that particular university, which I will not name, told me that maths wasn't for me, okay? So I decided I was going to go to a different university. And I remember when I had gone to see this university, when I was looking, I loved it, but they asked me for 3 Bs. Like, I just thought, obviously, why would you go to a university that's asking for 3 Bs if you got 3 A's, right? And so I decided that I was going to go there. And I remember calling the admissions tutor, because I got his name and his number, and I said, look, I want to come to your university. I haven't got a UCAS number. I haven't gone through clearing or any of that. And he was like, I'm so sorry, but I oversubscribed. I can't allow you to come onto my course. And so I was like, what else do I need to do? So I thought, right, I'll send him an email, because as far as I was concerned, I was going to be on this course. It was the course that I wanted to do, because I'd done that research. And I was ready to go back to university and to ace it. And so I then wrote an email to him. And in the meantime, I sent the email. And in the meantime, I was getting ready, because I was going to the university to knock on his door to basically say, you need me at your university to do your course. And just before I left, I thought, oh, let me just check my emails. And he sent me an email accepting me onto the course with no UCAS number, no clearing number. He was just like, look, we're going to give you a place if you can just get this stuff together in the next 2 weeks. So when I started university there in 2005, which is a very long time ago, I didn't have any official papers or anything. And I graduated 3 years later with a first-class degree in maths and statistics. So,
there's something you when you describe the process of going to the first university, which was close to your place, you didn't include anything about research in there. And in fact, you said, I didn't even go to visit.
Nope.
The second time you went to the university, you did your research.
Yeah.
And you said something about how you describe your personality. And what I am assuming also that you're happiest at is when you do your research.
Absolutely.
And being organized. And what I realized, that if you don't mind me saying, is that when you do your research and prepare yourself, you feel much more at ease and more confident. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's hitting the nail on the head.
And you, first class, hello.
Yeah.
And you know, you mentioned also about your dad being so supportive.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not necessarily making this a controversial topic, but must be mentioned. First of all, what is your heritage, may I ask?
I'm Jamaican.
Jamaican.
Yeah.
And you're Black Jamaican.
Yeah.
And you know, there is this thing in the Black community that where there's this sort of stereotype or and common practice that, you know, Black, there are not many good Black fathers out there. And it's just wonderful to see how your father, your grandfather, and your husband definitely do not fit those stereotypes at all. And so this was very commonplace for you to have these very supportive male figures in your life, fathers who was.
I think a male presence is also always important because it's balance, right? I think that I know women are strong and they can do anything. We can do anything apart from take rubbish out. I don't take rubbish out. Apart from that, we can do anything. But I think that balance is really important. I think that when there's a male and a female, energies or whatever you want to call it, it's really important that there's a balance there because that makes the whole person, I think. Obviously my mum was there and she's incredible as well, but then my dad also brought that balance. And so I think in general in life, it's really important in families to either have a father figure or a male figure of some sort that can provide a balance there, really. I know that obviously in situations, not every situation looks the same. There are families with two mums and two dads and single parents and all these other things. And I think that as long as there's a balance, I think in terms of energies and male and female energies, I think that, it helps to make a whole person, I think.
I love that you mentioned that that at the beginning of your career, you know, embarking on your insurance career, that your professional exams, that you failed them, and you felt that you and Emil decided that, guess what, you made it very clear to Emil that, okay, look, even though this happened, I really want us to have a child now, and he was completely on board, and how the support they showed for you at the beginning of your career. And earlier you mentioned about your support for him at the beginning of his career, before all of the glam. How important has that been, or was that for you in helping to keep this beautiful relationship that's just endured?
Yeah, I mean, I always say that Emil's my biggest cheerleader. Like, when I feel like I'm not good enough or it's just not going right, he is always there. Just, Shardae, you can do this, you've got this. Like, he always has my best interests at heart. And I love that when I feel like I don't have the strength, he's always reminding me that I do. I always say that I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for him. He has a confidence that I wish that I had, and I think that, I'm not sure if that's a male or female thing or just a personality thing, I'm not sure. But I see that when he goes for contracts, he'll be like, oh yeah, I can do that. And I'm like, but you haven't got that machine. He's like, oh no, I'll get it. I'm like, but you haven't used it. He was like, I'll learn. And I'm like, okay, how can you just do that? Whereas if I'm going for a role, I look for, if I can do everything, I'm like, oh, I can go for that. But that really inspires me with the fact that he goes for contracts that he doesn't know how to do it yet, but he'll figure it out. And I'm just like, actually, I can do that too, right? So he pushes me to do better. He encourages me. He reminds me of what my goals are and what my wants are and what I've said to him to keep me accountable to. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for him.
I think he would say the same about you.
Oh.
And I understand that being his muse is obviously a big inspiration for him. But this dress that you're wearing, is it Emile Vidal Carr?
It absolutely is, yes.
Was this made for you?
It was made for me when we went to Buckingham Palace a few years ago, so yeah.
It looks amazing on you.
Thank you.
Blue is definitely one of your colours for sure.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, look, you've been fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, before you leave, we have some quick fire questions for you. You can't give me too long an answer. I want you to just go for it, okay? Rice and peas or rice and beans?
Rice and peas.
iPhone or Android?
Android, sorry.
Lifetime supply of makeup or lifetime supply of hair products?
We'll go with hair products.
R&B or Afrobeats?
R&B.
R&B or jazz?
R&B.
Well-paid job with toxic environment or low-paid job and it just feels blissful being at work?
Low paid with blissful environment.
Fish and chips or jerk chicken and rice and peas?
No, jerk chicken and rice and peas. It's not even a question.
Call the Midwife or Love Island?
Call the Midwife. I love Call the Midwife.
Romantic break in Paris or holiday in Maldives?
Maldives.
Heels or trainers?
I'll go with heels.
Cocktail dress or ball gown?
A cocktail dress.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
You were fantastic.
Thank you for your time.
It was very, very good.